developer doing this, and I can tell you they would not have come 3 times in the space of 8 days to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, but are you going to do anything? You can listen all you like, you're not going to do anything, are you?
Okay, as we've got Martin Perry here for a limited space of time, we are very grateful he's come. Thank you, Martin. But let's talk about the plan, and let's listen to the plan, and then ask the questions. And the longer it takes to get there, the fewer the questions. And I want some questions.
I was enjoying Martin. Leave him on.
So, what I am saying is this. We have absolutely no interest in any scheme that would cause damage or flooding around the area, not just on the site, but around the area as well, because we are part of this community. We are here. We love being here. We're very proud of the training centre that we built, and it's getting visitors from all over the world having a look at it. So there is no way we want to impact on that training ground or the community that's around us. We do not. It's not in our interest. It cannot be in our interest to make the situation on the A27 worse, because it directly impacts on us. And so I am saying to you, we have looked in a great deal of detail at the impact of this development. The reason why we say, and our consultants say, that the situation will not be worsened is because you have to take into account that this site, and I come back to where I was, that it's been allocated in the local plan. During that process, ADA consulted with Highways England, with West Sussex County Council. They carried out a great deal of modelling, and at that examination in public, it was stated that the A27 could cope with the traffic. You can laugh. I'm afraid that the fact is that there is a statement of common ground which says that the plan was fit for purpose based on the modelling that they carried out, based on the development of the housing and employment generation that was planned for that site. So that is our baseline. And if you then, what we have done, please let me finish. You'll have the opportunity for questions. You can ask your questions in a moment. What we have done then is substitute the employment use for an IKEA, and we have looked then at the difference between those two. In the mornings, nobody shops at IKEA between 7 and 9 in the morning. Well, it's not open, so they can't. So the fact is that the traffic generation in the morning is less. I have to tell you, I'm afraid that Highways England agree with us, and also, I have to say, and I know you won't probably agree with me, but the generation of traffic, the number of cars coming to visit that site is greater from the east than it is from the west, and the reason for that is, if you think about it, anybody coming from the north will access the site from the east, because they'll join the A27 east of the development, not to the west of it. And that is why the traffic generation is not as great as you fear. We have, and finally, I would say that we have been consulting through this process for a very long time. We have been working with Highways England, with West Sussex, with the Environment Agency. We have met them frequently. The planning application that has been put forward is on the basis of the information and the discussions and the consultation that we've had with them, and therefore it has been carefully thought through and has been carefully worked out. Now, you may not agree, but let me just finally say what the process is now. We have obviously submitted the application. Ada are considering that application. They have sent it out for consultation, not only to members of the public, but also to the statutory authorities, the Environment Agency, Highways England, and so on. In those cases, they have appointed consultants, and so it is not just our word. They are looking at it, and they will decide whether or not we were right. And it is only when that process is completed and the council and the planning office have those responses, will they be able to make a judgment as to whether or not the application is sound and whether or not it should be approved. So there's still a long way to go before they are in a position to make that judgment.
Then why did the council close?
No, hold on, let's finish and then we'll take questions.
I think that I've probably said enough for the moment, and I'm quite happy to take questions, but as I say, I apologise, but I have to be away from here at 8 o'clock.
Fine, right, Martin, thank you very much. We've got 45 minutes for questions. I'm going to take 3 at a time. We'll get as many in when he's here, and then after that, we'll take a lot more, and if we need to pass them on, we'll pass them on. So I'm going to go 1 there, 1 at the back there, and the lady in brown there. And there are roving mics, please. Sorry, I meant that lady there. Sorry, sir. Okay, first. We'll come. I'm sorry. We'll get you in the second round, don't worry. Madam.
Yeah, I'd like to know why you've only submitted 1 full application and the rest is just applications in principle, and what that actually means for the future.
No, wait, we'll take 3 at a go, Martin. Right, lady, right. Well, let's take the gentleman there. And then Jack's got another microphone. Can we go to the lady at the back? Oh, fine. Okay. And then lady over there. Sir.
If such a good idea, why is it then that when people in this community actually paid to get nitrous oxide checked in the area, it was well over the government's level in April? And when asked by me to the environmental officer that was here for a meeting before, he admitted that in April it is lower than it will be in the middle of the summer. So we're going to have a school there which is above the legal limit of nitrous oxide. Now, is that a healthy sort of idea before IKEA come? And to say that IKEA is not going to increase the traffic, when IKEA was put into Cardiff area, there was about 29,000 cars, and within 2 years it had gone up to 60,000 cars. So your comment about it makes no difference, quite honestly, is laughable.
Thank you, sir. Lady in the brown at the back, yeah, and then we'll go over there, then I'll get some answers.
It's not a done deal.
It's not. Switch it on.
If it's not a done deal, why is the council in the paper clapping themselves on the back and telling people they've done a great deal bringing IKEA and Carla Homes into the area to build it? And also, why should we believe anything Highways Agency say as credible when they've just suggested that they can carve up our park and put in a few weird junctions that will improve the speed of the road for 3 minutes?
And that's the manor part we're talking about as well. I'm not saying the manor. The lady at the back who I came to first of all, sorry. That's it, yeah. And then I'll get some answers. I hope.
Martin, you mentioned that your application is going to council and you gave the impression they are going to approve it. So, and you said you're listening to the residents. I can tell you here, the majority of the residents here are saying no, but you all don't seem to be listening to us.
Right, Martin's 4 questions there.
Okay, well, some of these I can answer, some of them I can't, because they're not really for me to answer. But let's just deal with this application in principle, or what's called a hybrid application, where parts of it are in detail, parts of it are in outline. First of all, the housing, the first phases of the housing are in detail. That means that the level of detail that we've given the council is sufficient for them to be able to approve it without any significant reserve matters. In other words, access, the elevational treatments of the houses, the actual precise layout, all of those sorts of details are provided. The reason why the third and fourth phases are still in outline, they're actually, the layouts have been provided, but it takes, the housing development takes something like 6 years, maybe 7 years to build out. And design standards may change in that time, and so the reason is that part of the application is held back, and so a further application would be made at the time to sort out the actual precise detail. In the case of the IKEA, that's an outline application, but the only reserved matter is the landscaping around it, and that gives the local authority a lot more scope to be able to ensure that the landscaping scheme, when it comes forward, is actually is suitable, and they can go through that part of it in precise detail. So it's because of the timing of when the various parts of the development come forward that there is the difference between the detailed parts and the outline parts. The country park is designed in detail. The new junction is designed in detail. It's only the longer term parts that are in outline, and I hope that explains.
Hold on, let him answer the other
outline
question.
is going to planning committee, and it will be agreed, possibly, a planning committee. It's an outline. How can a planning committee agree an outline? You should only submit the 200 and hope that the planning committee gets that through. Outline
Councillor, let
I'm
him
not a
speak.
councillor, I'm a parish, I live in the parish at this moment.
The answer to your point, Councillor Patmore.
I'm not a councillor, I'm talking as a resident. Get that right.
The answer to your point is that the process that we're following is a long established principle whereby the use of a site can be established in outline, and then the detail follows later with a subsequent application.
And it approves the
Look,
building.
Councillor,
It approves the building.
there are people here who want to ask questions in the next 40 minutes. Can you take the point about the nitrous pollution point? Because we've also got the area group here who are handing out some forms and are very concerned about the pollution levels. Can we take that one specifically, Martin?
Yeah, the point about air pollution, first of all, the school. What we've done is the local plan requires us to allocate space and land for the school. That's not and this is where the principle of the outline comes in. That actually, that there are discussions going on with West Sussex County Council as to whether indeed that is the right solution. It might be that ultimately it's decided that actually no, they won't locate the school there. They would rather take a contribution from the developer and develop at the school in another location. So that at this stage is not a final final done deal, if you like, to use that expression. But we are required to allocate the space. Now, we looked very carefully at where we could locate the school. The problem that we have is that if you push it further into the site, then what happens is that you push the housing development further into the country park, and you lose space in the country park. And we went through an exercise to come up with the optimum position. Now we have been through with West Sussex County Council, and they, in terms of the allocation of the site, have said that they are okay with it.
But I think let's just forget the school for the moment, because even if the school's not going there, pollution still is. Yes. And I think what people want to know is what are you doing to alleviate the pollution problem that can only be increased by more traffic going into that development. So what are we doing to make it up?
First of all, we have done, and as part of the planning application, we have submitted an air quality section. The second point is I come back to the fact that the site has been allocated in the local plan. We are not doing anything different from the original allocation. The allocation is for 600 houses. that will generate additional traffic.
The
And
local plan hasn't been agreed.
Look, Councillor, please, let everyone have a go.
Call me councillor, Mr.
At least he lives in the area.
Right, can I first of all suggest, people at the back, there's quite a lot of space over here. It's superior standing space. Come up here. There are a couple of seats here if anybody really needs a seat as well. For the next set of questions, I just want to make the point. There are 3 different parts to this whole application. There's some houses, which may or may not be doable. There's some community spaces, schools and whatever. And then there's a thumping great IKEA. And I think, certainly looking at all the surveys that have come back so far, and everybody that's spoken to me, is IKEA is by far the biggest problem, creates by far the biggest traffic, and therefore potentially by far the biggest pollution. What I'd like to know is, why does it have to be an IKEA employing largely low-skilled jobs there, rather than, say, other smaller businesses with higher skilled jobs that don't involve 2 million customers a year driving their cars there? Why not? All of which will pay rates, employ people and bring wealth to the area, and might actually go and use some local businesses. Because I don't know about you, when I go to IKEA and somewhere like Croydon, I don't then walk around the town centre, go for lunch and do a bit of shopping. I get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. So why is IKEA going to bring that extra business to our community here?
Let me just deal with why an IKEA to start with. We have submitted, again, within the planning application, we have submitted a viability study which the council will look at, and they will appoint consultants to look at to make sure that what we're saying is absolutely correct. But the issue and the difficulty that we have is that a office development, a warehouse development, a light industrial development does not generate the land value that we need to be able to pay. Does not generate the land value that we need to pay for the infrastructure that goes with this development. The infrastructure is costing over 36 million. We are then making a contribution to the airport of 6 million, which is a total of 42 million into infrastructure, both in roads, in the country park, in the drainage, and also the contribution to the airport. And quite simply, without the IKEA, there is a very significant funding gap.
Right, I'm going to take more questions. The gentleman over there, the microphone's coming down. The lady over there, and I'll go to the lady over there. We grab the microphone as quickly as we can, and Andy, be ready for that one. Sir.
Hello?
Yeah.
Just first a comment. I'm one of those people who sit every day between Lancing and Brighton on the A27. Just a comment on the traffic. Where are the numbers published to say what it does to the traffic when you build an IKEA and 600 houses?
It is in the planning application. It is detailed in the planning application. What we did was a great deal of modelling. We had people counting the vehicle movements, and then based.
I've never seen that.
Well, I can assure you, it is in the planning application. But as I said earlier, if I can just finish, as I said earlier, that Highways England, for example, have appointed an entirely independent consultant, W.S. Atkins, who are going through all of that data, and they have asked us questions. They've asked us for further backup information, which we are providing or have provided, and they will make their judgment based on the information that we have provided, but also the information that they are gathering.
Gathering it from us. I think it's all the information. Lady there, Andy.
Hello. I just wonder, on the note of traffic, about what you've thought about internally within Lancing and Shoreham. There we are landlocked in a way between the sea and the Downs, and there are very few arteries that allow us to access. Therefore, it is really blocked. I live on the Old Shoreham Road, and all of the houses and the IKEA traffic, maybe not the IKEA traffic, but you're suggesting that they use the current arteries into Shoreham or Lancing. Why are you not then putting in a road that goes straight down to the A259 from the A27? Is it because it's too expensive to cross the railway bridge?
Okay, hold on. Take the lady.
But I'm just saying, why, there's not, the planning isn't there for the infrastructure. I don't agree with it.
Let's not start beating each other up. Right, let's do that. No, you've gone past her. The lady there. Yes, we're coming to you.
I'd just like to ask, what happened to the old 1970s plan for strategic green gaps? And I believe the Ada Valley was, from the sea upwards, was declared a strategic green gap.
The lady in pink at the back, I think. I can just say that I'm afraid strategic gaps don't have any basis in law and haven't done for some time anymore, alas. So that doesn't. It's not a factor on planning. Madam.
If you build 600 houses on this site, I can't get an appointment with the GP at the moment. How will you overcome that, please?
Okay, we'll take those.
So the questions were, first of all, creating a link direct down to the A259. Simply, it's not possible because there is no route that you could actually achieve to be able to do that. We come back. I come back to the fact that the local plan has determined that there is a series of housing developments along the A27. It's not only us. There's an allocation at something as well, unfortunately, there is an agenda that new homes should be provided. The district council has carried out an assessment of the number of homes that it needs. Even with the allocations that are currently in the plan, the fact is that they are short on the number that they believe they need. And so if, for example, this application should fail, the fact is that will open the door for developments elsewhere, which you might consider even less suitable than New Monk's Farm. So, you have to be... You have to take into account the pressures that are there. But as I say, if there had been no allocation on New Monk's Farm, we would not be involved. The fact is that there is an allocation. That allocation, every likelihood is that it will be adopted, and that is why we want to make sure that it is done properly. If I come back to the point about the GPs. We have made a commitment. We heard at the public exhibition this point was raised, and we have agreed with Carla that we will make provision for a new GP surgery in the community hub. In the community hub, the issue, of course, is that we have to have the agreement of the local NHS, the local clinical commissioning group. But provided we can do that, we will include and have allowed, and there are sums of money made available to make that happen.
Okay, I want to take a clutch of questions over here. Lady Bob, you've got it first, and then I've got a lady in blue there, and Francis and the gentleman got forward. Take that, madam. Switch it off.
I represent area. We're handing out the leaflets there.
Okay, I represent area, and we were handing out the leaflets earlier. You say that you've done an air pollution assessment, an air quality assessment, but you have no starting point, because the area where IKEA is going to be built has had no testing done officially by the council. We have done testing along there, and the testing we found for nitrogen dioxide was above the legal limit of 40, and in one case was over 50. Also, there has been no testing for particulates, which are little bits that get deep into your lungs. They cause cancer, they cause respiratory problems, and yet there has been no assessment of that at all. So how you can say that there is not going to be a problem with air pollution when you haven't even done the groundwork correctly is totally beyond me. And I think it's just a fudge because it has not been assessed properly.
Lady in blue, just about here. It should be on. Just leave it on. Whoever has it, don't switch it on.
Okay, I'm just going to shout. Hi. Just coming back to your point on the schools, I represent a parents group, and we already know in Ada there's a shortage of 2 primary schools. If you are not going to be able to put clearly in your plan the school, you're going to exacerbate problems. The reason being is West Sussex County Council has a rule of thumb for every 1,000 dwellings, there's a 1 full-entry school that needs to be built. So if you then, your 600 houses, don't build the school, you're going to push an even further problem onto the remaining Ada schools with your 106 infrastructure money. They're full. Believe me, they are full. What are you going to do about that, please?
Francis, let's take that one down. Is that one? We take that. We'll stay there. Jack, if that's, because I've got a battery, if it's the battery.
Hello, my name's Francis Smith. I also have been to meetings all week. You're doing one more than me because I was here on Monday. And we listened to the story of the modelling of the sewer system that they're going to put in. And I went home and thought about it, and it sounded as if they were going back to do some more work. But that was without the enormity of the number of people that are going to use the lavatories in an IKEA if it gets built, the number of people that are going to use lavatories on the academy site when they're watching football, and none of that was mentioned when this man said that he was going to put an 8-inch pipe in, and when it came out the other end of Barfield Park we didn't quite know where it was going, but we realised that it's going into a sewage system in Lancing, which is absolutely appalling already. And then there was going to be a holding tank so that they controlled the flow, but if the flow got too fast, then the holding tank got full, then they were going to have to tank it out. So the modelling is all right as long as the truth comes out as well.
Thank you, Francis. And with all those Swedish meatballs on the side. Behind Francis, yeah. Oh, one of them must be working. Go on. There's a gentleman there. Okay, yeah. Go on.
Yeah, good evening. I've got quite a concern, really. I want to know from the football club, how is Lancing going to benefit from the development? How are we actually going to get something out of it? Because as far as I can see, we're going to have congestion, we're going to have all sorts of other problems, possibly flooding. What are we going to get out of it? What is Lancing going to get out of this development? I'd like an answer to that, please.
Right, 4 specific questions. We've got air quality, we've got school situations, we've got sewer capacity, and what's in it for the village. Martin. Oh, for the Swedish people.
Okay, on air pollution, I'm not an expert in air quality. We have appointed an expert in air quality. All I can do on your particular point, I've made a note. I will take it back and I will ask the question. I'm not going to try and fudge an answer because I can't. I've heard the points. I've heard what you said. I've heard the issues, and we will get an answer, and it will be answered. On the school, I didn't quite